Hi everyone, I am Ankit Agrawal and I am going to take you through the SBI PO examination changes. All of you are aware of the fact that SBI PO pattern has changed this year. I'm sure you would understand it. I'm talking about SBI PO main examination, right? So there are significant changes in the SBI PO main examination. The prelims pattern remains the same. So what are those changes? This is the first thing that we need to understand. The second is how those changes matter. As a candidate, as a student who would be appearing for an SBI PO main examination, how does it matter to him? Is there a need for change in preparation? Is there a need to change in approach, or or is there something else that it will affect? Let us understand that, right? So let's go through. First of all, let's see what was the pattern last year for the main examination and what is the pattern this year. If you look at last year, there was a composite time of 2 hours, right? For the entire paper. There was a reasoning section with 50 questions. There was a DI section with 50 questions. English language with 50 and general awareness, computers and marketing. These three parts were put in one section with 50 questions, in which I would say that roughly the weightage of marketing would be 12 questions, computer would be again 10 to 15 questions, and the remaining was general awareness. And each question carries 1 mark and there was a negative marking of 1 by 4. So 50-50, total 200 questions and 200 marks. That was the pattern till last year. What is the pattern now? Now there are a lot of changes. You would see reasoning and computer aptitude. You would see general awareness about economy and banking. No marketing. There is no marketing this year, right? Second, number of questions are not uniform. 45, 35, 35, 40. Maximum marks are again not uniform. 60, 60, 60. Sorry, 60, 60, 40 and 40. Time, the biggest change. This we call sectional time limit, which was first time introduced by CAT in India, although it was there previously in international examinations like GRE or GMAT. Right? So this is the first time sectional time limit has been introduced in a government examination. That means for each section, the amount of time allotted will be fixed. That time remaining in one section cannot be utilized for another section. So let's see the changes. Sectional time limit has been introduced in each subject, right? Which means the time allotted to each section will be fixed, and if you have some spare time in one section, you cannot utilize it for some other section. Next, the number of questions in each section have reduced. We have already seen that previously it was 50, 50, 50, 50. Now it has reduced to 45, 35, 40 such questions. So the total has been reduced from 200 to 155. Just see, the number of questions are reducing. What does that mean? Let us see. The maximum marks for each section has also changed. For example, for reasoning and computer aptitude, it was 60 marks, right? For quant, it was 60 marks. For general awareness, it was 40 marks. And for English, again, it was 40 marks. Previously, it was 50 marks for each subject. Right? So I don't know what does that mean, whether it means differential marking or equal marking. Questions of 1 mark, 1.5 mark, 2 mark, lot of possibilities are there, right? If we see the pattern, let's say there are 45 questions of 60 marks, right? So what does that mean? 60 by 45, which is 1.33 marks per question. It's highly unlikely. What I am assuming is probably there will be few questions of 1 mark plus 1, few questions of plus 2, or maybe 1.5. A rough estimate is you can have some 35 questions in reasoning and 10 questions in computers, right? These 10 questions will carry plus 1 mark each. Out of these 30 questions, I don't know what will be the breakup. It might be a breakup of 1 mark, 2 mark, or 1.5 marks. Anything like that. A possible combination is, let's say, 25 questions of 1 mark and remaining 10 questions of 2.5 marks. This is one possibility. Or other possibility is 30 questions of 1 mark and remaining 5 questions of 4 marks. I'm just assuming. So I don't know what will be the possibility. Let us see. Same goes for DI. You know, could be 25 questions of 2 marks and 10 questions of 1 mark a possibility. Here also 30 questions of 1 mark and 5 questions of 2 mark in English. And here I can say it's highly likely that all questions will be of 1 mark only. Right. So this is an expected. The marking system might vary. This is just in speculation that we all are doing. But yes, something like will be there. And the possibility of getting a marking structure like this is highly unlikely. Right. So this is one thing. Next is most important part, marketing section which used to be a part of general awareness has been discontinued. Although in the entire notification they have not mentioned anywhere about the marketing section, so it is clearly understood and assumed that there won't be any questions from marketing section. But I would still recommend you to go through the basics of marketing, just because if you get a couple of questions which are very basic of marketing and could be done by common sense, so you should not stand at you should not lose those 2 marks or 3 marks. So don't go through the complete details concepts of the marketing, rather go through some basics of marketing, right? Next change is computer section has been removed from the general awareness section and now is a part of reasoning section. That's a new change. Computers, which is a standalone section in other banking examinations, used to be a part of general awareness section till last year, now a part of reasoning section. I don't know what it means. Let's see. Another big change, the total time has been increased from 120 minutes to 180 minutes and questions from 200 questions to 155 questions. Right, what does that mean? Time increasing, questions decreasing. That means level of difficulty going high. Level of difficulty increasing means more hard work is required. I can simply say that number of questions have gone down by almost 25% and time has increased by 50%. It clearly means that they are looking at something really tough. Otherwise they would have never done that, right? So guys, be mentally prepared. The question paper is going to be a difficult one. Next, let's talk about the time limits, what used to be and what are now. Here I am going to consider a standard time limit which a good scoring student used to apply till last year. Out of those 120 minutes, a good student would have given 15 minutes to general awareness question to do the 50 questions, right? 50 questions is good enough to do in 15 minutes. And general awareness questions are mostly fact-based questions, so there is no solving, there is no approach, nothing like that. If you know the answer, you know the answer. If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. It is as simple as that. So 15 minutes in general would have been enough. Now there are 40 questions reduced by 10, right? And the time given is 35 minutes. Time is more than double. What is the point? Questions are getting reduced. That means the time required to solve these 40 questions should be on pro rata basis 12 minutes. That's more than enough. Now the time is 35 minutes. That is thrice of what is required. So what does this mean? There are two possibilities. The first possibility is that they might follow a suit of UPSC paper 2 where you have lengthy questions like in UPSC, a question followed by 4 or 5 statements and then the answer would be some combination of those statements, right? This is just a speculation. Again, we are doing that, right? Or the point is, the question, you will be having enough time to do that, and you might feel bored about it. So you know, sometimes I feel that, you know, the biggest pain would be to sit idle once you are done with the paper. So have patience while doing this section. If the paper is difficult, utilize your time. They've given you 35 minutes, which is more than required. And if the paper is like last year only, then have patience, sit idle, put your head down and wait for the next section to start. The reason I'm saying wait for the next section to start is that I don't expect a student to have an option to submit a section in between, right? So if a section is going through, the timer will show you 35 minutes and it will keep on reducing, and if you are done with the section and 15 minutes are still remaining, you won't be able to submit the section, right? So you will have to wait for another 15 minutes to pass on, and the section will get automatically submitted, because they would allow the students to leave all at the same time, so you cannot submit a section in between, right? Next, English. Again, the standard breakup for English would be 20 minutes, 25 minutes. There are 50 questions which were there in the last year's examination pattern, and out of those 50 questions, if you are targeting 40 questions, 20 to 25 minutes is much more than enough, right? But now the case is different. The questions have been reduced by 15, that is from 50 to 35, right? And time has been increased from 20 to 40. Already there were passages of 500, 600 words. Does that mean there will be passages of 1000 words? I don't know. I don't think so. That makes any sense. The passages will be again the same, but yes, the language in the passages might become difficult, or the, you know, some questions about them might be difficult, or lengthy grammar questions you might get. I don't know what you will get. But again, you have much more than enough time to this section, and even if you get the same type of question paper which was there last year, that is the another case we are considering, right? Then I would strongly recommend students not to look at the question which you have already done or solved, because it happens with a lot of students that once they are done with the entire section, they have spare time with them. So what they do, they try to revisit the questions, and then they, you know, see that this another answer is possible, then they change their answers, and you know, in most of the cases, 3 out of 4 cases end up marking a wrong answer in the second attempt, right? So my suggestion would be, believe in yourself, in your first instinct, and you know, don't relook those questions, revisit those questions once you are done with that, unless you are 100% sure, more than 200% sure, yes, I have marked it wrongly and I should correct it, right? So be sure about English section, right? The next is, once a student would have, you know, spent 30 to 40 minutes in English and GK, the remaining 80 minutes he would have spent on reasoning and data interpretation. In these 80 minutes, a normal candidate, you know, targets 80 to 90 questions on an average 55 seconds to 1 minute per question, right? With a great accuracy. But now the scene is different. You know, previously you have a bunch of 80 minutes, you can choose DI, reasoning, or both as per your comfort. For few people DI is easy, so they would target all 50 questions of day, but for few remaining, logical reasoning is easy, they would target full 15 logical reasoning. But now the case is different. You have 35 questions in DI, that means reduction from 50 to 35, reduction of 30%, and on average, if I say there was a time of 40 minutes, it has increased to 45 minutes. So the first point is significant decrease in the number of questions and slight increase in the time from a standard allotted time, an assumption, right? So what does that mean? Difficult questions, SBI PO has always been very difficult. I don't know whether they have that scope of increasing the difficulty level to another phase or not. I don't know about that, but let's say even if that is difficult, 35 questions would have, in a normal scenario, would have required 35 minutes, right? 1 minute per question. Now you have 45 minutes, so no excuses. You know, most of the good candidates, you know, those who knew those who knew that English and GK will remain the same, because they cannot do much about it, because time is never a constraint in those sections, and this SBIP examination is all about time management. They used to say we knew quant and reasoning, right? But we couldn't do that because of the lack of time. They used to say मुझे आता था मगर time नहीं मिला, time कम पड़ गया. I knew the questions but I couldn't do it because of lack of time. So this excuse will not be accepted now, for a simple reason: you have more than enough time, 35 questions and 45 minutes. So this section can prove to be a game changer for a lot of people, because those who are good in quant, good in DI, will be able to attempt all 35 questions, because time will be more than enough. In the worst case scenario, if the question level of difficulty goes extremely high, one would can still easily attempt 30 to 32 questions out of these 35 questions. So DI is going to play a critical role in your examination. Start preparing for it. And CL has been a pioneer in teaching quant, reasoning, aptitude, everything, right? So go through our test series. You will find a very high difficulty level DI questions, and questions which match SBI PO examination pattern, to give you a feel of what kind of questions can be asked, right? And the last section is reasoning and computer aptitude. This is an experiment. I don't know whether that's an experiment or not, which they have done, merging computer aptitude with reasoning. What does that make? I don't know what is that logic behind that. The only logic which I could understand is computer aptitude had some part of logical reasoning. For example, Boolean algebra. Boolean algebra requires a lot of logic, right? So probably, can I say that this year you can expect Boolean algebra questions? You never know. You may expect that, right? Because it is now computer aptitude, not computer awareness. First thing. If not, then regular computer questions, quite a possibility. But what the challenge is? Again, previously we were targeting 40 questions in 40 minutes for reasoning section. Now we are targeting 45 questions in 60 minutes. I am assuming that the breakup would be reasoning would have 35 questions and computer would have 10 questions. These 10 questions would not take more than 5 minutes. So for 35 questions you have 40 minutes. Sorry, for 35 questions you have 55 minutes, right? 55 minutes, 35 questions, 55 minutes. They already used to have very difficult puzzles till last year. What are they going to do now? Are they going to increase the level of difficulty even of those puzzles? If yes, then also it hardly matters. The time is 55 minutes. Standard time would have been 35 minutes. From 35 minutes to 55 minutes, that means an increase by 56% in time. So 56%. So if the level of difficulty of the question goes as high as 1.5 times, you still have enough time to do all the questions. So the point again here remains the same that was in DI section. There is no compromise in this section. You don't have the option to leave any question. You have to attempt all possible questions, right? Remember to attempt all possible questions, all 45 questions in those 60 minutes, because these are the sections where you can score the maximum. And those who know quant and reasoning know that these sections are the ones where where the chances of accuracy is very high and you can score as much as you can, right? So I would suggest you guys to start focus on data interpretation, data analysis and logical reasoning section, right? Because this will help you in attempting more questions. As I already said, you won't be able to give any excuse, right? Second is that have a look at Boolean algebra, basic concepts of Boolean algebra. You might get a surprise question or a few questions from Boolean algebra. Besides that, I am reiterating everything. Besides that, do not revisit the English questions. Whatever you want to do it in first attempt only. Go through the passages, sentence correction questions of in the blanks or the closed test. Take your time. You have much more than required enough time, right? So there is no lack of time. The examination itself has become a 3-hour question paper, right? So you have enough time. So just do your paper wisely, right? You will be an SBIP officer for sure if you follow these advices, suggestions. Rest, I would suggest you, if you want any kind of clarity about the examination or any kind of, do you have doubt, just email me. My email ID is ankit.agarwal@careerlauncher.com, right? So just email me whatever doubts you have. Go through Career Launcher's SBI PO Prelim main test series. That will help you a lot in judging, estimating yourself, where you stand and how much you need to do. We have a all India ranking, percentile, detailed analysis, detailed solution, graphical analysis system, which will help you a lot in your preparation. Thank you so much, guys. These are the cutoffs of the last 2 years, 2012-13. This is for the year. This is for the year 2012-13, and this is for the year 2015-16, right? So the cutoff has been significantly high, 143 and 151. So you can understand that you have to score at least 150 out of these 200 marks. 150 means at least an attempt of 125 or 130 questions. So this paper gives you enough time to attempt 125 or 130 questions. One may say that even the cutoff this time may go high because there is a lot of time, or may remain the same if the level of difficulty of the question increases, right? I wish you all the best for the examination. Do let me know if you have any doubts. Thank you so much, guys.